Yes, so welcome, Sherrie Meyer, my beautiful soul sister, who's going to talk all about Soul Song, and that's actually the name of, or the title of a book that she has just released, which I have been reading and loving. Soul Song, A Journey of Wisdom and Empowerment, and I'll put the link below because I think it's a beautiful, beautiful book that you can just pick up. We were just saying before, you can pick it up to a page and kind of use it like a message for the day. There's wonderful
Yeah,
journal prompts in it. But I'll let you tell us more about that. Yeah, so before we go into Soul Song, I just wanted to say that I met Sherrie at Uluru, so in the Red Centre. So that was a beautiful, beautiful way to meet. Yeah. How long ago was that? Not
that
long.
was in May. Yeah, in May. So it was beautiful. It was. It was to be out in the desert and just being really was what
Mm,
that was all about. And sort of leads in because it allows you to let go of everything that's going on in your daily life and just to learn to sit and listen and
listen.
observe
Yeah.
and just
Mm-hmm.
and it certainly at times triggers a lot of things in you from stepping away from the busyness and just stepping into that quietness and just being
Mm.
present in the moment, which is really, really important.
Yeah, and that's
Mhm.
part of the and the space we were in. It was a unity cultural camp. Yeah. So the
Yeah,
Anangu women were there holding space for us. And the silence was something that a lot of people felt, well, even me in the beginning, like, are we meant to be doing something? No, just sit and listen and be. Mm. How did you
yeah.
find
And
it?
I so at first I actually stepped into it quite well because I just like to sit and watch. I'm a quite curious person, so just watching, I'm a people watcher, so watching people and just their reactions in a space where you're expected to be, they're usually so busy. And that was the thing. So many people struggled with not doing anything. And time becomes the only thing we had with time was really meals. So
Yes.
the day just went as it was. You didn't have like time, there's no construct. There was no need for racing off to have showers or do all of those things because we just lived in the red dirt, just getting up with the
Mm,
sunrise, going to bed a little bit later when it was darker. It just becomes something completely different. So
yeah.
and there's just
Yeah.
nothing to be rushing to. You didn't have to
Mm,
do anything that you didn't want to do. You just had to be in that space.
mm,
So my
yeah.
my journey with that is with the elders. It was something that I had wanted to do for a long time. I've sat in a couple of different circles in terms of sitting with elders, and my interest also was the healing, the Nankari healers. So it was nice to just be in that space and just experience some of that as well. Uh, the healing session was absolutely amazing to be there and actually to be in ceremony as well. Where
Oh,
was
I
really
loved.
amazing.
I haven't washed my skirt. It's still covered in the red dirt. It all
Yeah,
remains.
yeah,
Yeah, it was very powerful. And it probably touches on a few themes that are in the soul song. So we could probably start
yeah,
linking it to. Do you want
yeah.
to introduce the book and how the concept of soul song came about?
So I've been writing. So my journey of finding my ways probably really started in earnest 15 years ago, which I started journaling. So journaling was became my journal is my best friend really, because pouring out everything into that journal of different stages along the way was really, really interesting. And I often look back, I have done for writing the book. And when I look at some of the things that I had written, it's really hard to see that person that was then versus the person that is now. And sometimes there's some really cringy moments in those journals. So I it was about SoulSong came up for me quite early on in the piece, and I really didn't really understand what that meant. I had a feeling around it was just a feeling that there was something more that was trying to be said. And in 2017, I had the opportunity to sit in a circle where I found my voice. And in the toning, and the toning that came out of me after that has made me understand what the vibration that comes from within um, is there to basically, there's so much that you can do with that.
Yeah.
It's like clearing the body, and there's that frequency and that comes from within. So that really started in earnest after about 2017.
Mm, yeah. And
So
I remember in just to something that stood out in the book was that your teacher at school had told you just to mouth the words and not sing. So your voice had been suppressed. That's so sad that you had that experience, and I'm sure many people can relate. Mm.
and if you look, so yeah, I was taken up to the piano. I loved the choir. It was my favorite thing in the world. In a It was like a safe space. And then that particular day where I was taken up to the piano, thinking that we were going to have the opportunity to maybe sing on our own. And when it came, she said to me, "You're off key. Can you please you can stay in the choir, but we just need you to mouth the words."
Oh, oh,
So
that's big.
I know.
Mm.
And so there's a lot of being silenced as a kid constantly. And that probably up until that point, I was silenced a lot. And then that was probably the point where I just shut down completely. So what I had to say didn't really matter to the world. What I had to sing didn't really matter to the world. So yeah, so now it's been discovering that voice again, and I'm not letting the voice go anymore.
No, you're
That's fun.
not. You're sharing it with
No,
the whole world.
and that's the fun part about it. So when I started writing journals, I didn't ever see it as writing a book. It was just me exploring within myself. But through a lot of my writing, I tend to channel a lot of information. So I've had lots of guidance over time, and there's been lots of things that have come up for me, but it's always been segmented. So like I've been given little bits at a time, so nothing ever really gelled. And then at the beginning of the year, I participated in a shamanic immersion, which was done through sound healing. And it was in that space that the use with all the sound, and like I was given the silent scream of the feminine. I could feel the feminine and Mother Earth and everyone screaming out that it's
Oh.
time for voices to be heard. And
When you
so that,
did you
sorry,
scream? Literally, did you literally
yeah,
scream? Oh.
yeah. So it was like I was laying on the mattress on the floor, and we were inside, and all I wanted to do was to actually lay on the earth. And so I've got out there, laid on the earth, and just literally screamed. It was just like this. And as I write in the book, it was just like all these stalagmites were forming. It was just like this big blue breath with all these stalagmites that were appearing, and it just felt like there were so many women that and I'd sat in circle with so many women over the years that I finally got the message of we're all screaming to be heard. And I guess that was about, we've talked so much about the feminine rising, but still in that space, there's it's still been muted to a certain degree. So it was the coming out of that that moment of literally screaming all of that I finally started to understand. And when I came back from there, my writing started in earnest, and it started to come all together. All of the things that I'd learned over time all started to pull into place about what it was meant to be, what I was supposed to write about. So then I just started writing, because I didn't even think at that stage that I wanted to do a book. And then the grandfathers came through. So not only were the grandmothers coming through, but the grandfathers came through saying, what about us? And I was like, I've just come into dealing with the feminine. What does it mean to deal with the grandfathers as well? That's a male thing to deal with, and kept pushing it aside. But they were really, really clear that they wanted to come through as well. So a month later, I was back examining what the grandfathers had to explore, and basically the masculine in the wisdom that was provided is the masculine is birthed through the feminine. So that's what the role was in bringing that into play, was that no matter whichever way we look, the masculine is birthed. We hold the space. I mean, they come into the world through the feminine. So, and that was why it needed to come together as the masculine and feminine, supporting each other and finding the balance. So that was, yeah. And then in March, I'd written so much about both of those, the masculine, the feminine, and then the SoulSong also tied into a lot that I had followed around the songlines, which is from like the Aboriginal culture, the dreaming, and it's like a map of the land in which the people walk through. So their stories are wrapped up in their songlines. And that came through to me in a meditation where the seven sisters, I was sitting around a fire with seven sisters, and it was like in the mud pan. And we were rolling in the mud. And I had no idea of the Seven Sisters constellation at that stage. And so that...
This was a vision.
Yeah, it was a vision. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I had no idea. And so I had a look at that afterwards, and that started the space with the songlines. And I wasn't really quite sure where the songlines and SoulSong came together. But yes, the songlines are a map of the land in which we walk, but we walk it within our own person as well. Every time we walk somewhere, it's a songline that we create. So whatever we do creates a songline, creates a story, creates a lot of things. So that was how it showed me that the SoulSong and the songlines were intertwined.
It's fascinating. I love how you brought the feminine and the masculine. Both of our songs needs to be heard, and then we hold space, the feminine for the masculine to be able to release their song. But can you just, for people that are going, well, what is a soul song? Because we went in quite deep. Maybe we can go.
We did.
out with the Palladians and the Seven Sisters. Maybe for someone that's just new to it, going, well, do I have a song? Like, how do I find it? Mm.
So it's not your outer voice. So it's your soul and it's the voice of your soul. So because I have the energy of sound, and I've made it, it's a frequency of sound really, and a listening to that sound deep within. So it's your inner truth, because your
Yeah.
soul is truth. So it's being able to, the soul song to me is about being able to express the truth of your soul. So that's why
Mm.
I've called it your soul song, rather than it's the voice of your soul really, but it's a vibration on a sound level. So that's why it calls out in a song. So
Mm. Yeah.
yeah, it's a sound that comes forward when you're not watching yourself or watching the actions that you do. It's just being that sound that comes out, that truth that comes out when you're not really observing. It comes from something deeper.
Mm. Which is what is our authentic self. So is it sometimes like the the thoughts you have, the messages and intuition, is that what it's connected to?
So it's connected to intuition, because intuition is the knowing that we have. So, and that's something that is really hard for a lot of people, in just like tuning into that knowing. So intuition is the voice as well. So it's the voice that comes, the knowingness. It's actually not a song as such. It's a knowing. It's a vibration of knowing, of understanding, and then of listening to that. Yeah, so intuition is what provides that. If we listen to that, it's a feeling. It's nothing you can say, nothing you can do. It's just a feeling and a knowing deep within yourself.
Yeah.
And so often we do not listen to that knowing, that in when we see the everyday, we push it to the side. Um, and I was just talking about this the other day, where like even the little tiny things, when you start to observe yourself with your intuition, is I can walk past something on a bench and think, I need to take that with me today. And I don't pick that up and I leave and come, and then I've left it behind. It
Mm.
calls to you all the time. It points to you. And when you start to follow that, life becomes a lot easier. So, yeah,
Exactly. That's where the magic happens, when you actually
yeah,
value that intuition and your inner knowing. Yeah.
yeah,
So we were talking about the importance of silence and how
mhm,
that's a good way for people to start to tune into it.
yeah. So we are so used to filling the gaps
Mhm.
with either talking or doing, and noise, um, but when you start to actually, silence is actually sacred. When you view the silence as sacredness, and it's a place where it starts to speak. So when you sit in silence, and it's sometimes the things that we don't want to see, so it's easy to fill the place with the noise and everything, because we actually really don't want to see ourselves when we sit in silence. And so there's a lot of pushing things to the side, because when you actually really fully sit with yourself, it's the things that you really don't necessarily want to face are the things that
Mm.
rise within you. So it's
Yeah.
a space where it's it's an emptiness. It's sitting in that void to
Mm.
start to face some of the things that need to be addressed in your life. So
Yeah. In
yeah,
the book, you you wrote about just deciding to leave the house and go out, and I think you were camping by a river.
Yeah.
You just left all the busyness behind. It was really interesting, I think, because not a lot of people do that. They just stay in the busyness. But how
Yeah.
did you just come to this point of leaving and going and finding this place of silence? What was
Because
happening?
it becomes overwhelming. Everything, all of the pressures, all of the things that we fill our lives with, and then there's so much that you need to sit and listen to, that to go away and just sit in nature and just to be in that space of once again, like the rhythms, you just follow the rhythms and be in that space of there's no noise, there's no pinging, it's only the trees, the wind blowing through the trees, the birds, and you start to pick up the things around you. There's so much in our environment that we miss in terms of those little things as well. So while we're missing all the little tiny, it's an ability when you go and do something like that to see the little tiny things around you that need your attention. When you
Mm.
bring it down to like, it becomes like quite micro to see those little tiny things and fill you with joy. So it was about finding a space to be able to just go and appreciate what nature gives, because in the busyness, there's often no appreciation.
No, and
So,
often we don't really see, do we? Like I won't mention who, but I was driving with a friend and we realized we were 55 kilometers down the wrong highway because we just hadn't been looking. Got so
yeah,
caught up on just the what was right in front of us inside the vehicle. So, and
yeah.
often I think that's a good analogy. We just move through life without really seeing the beauty or the vastness. And you've also talked about connecting with the stars, with the whale songs. There's so much more to connect with than just your screen and the television news.
Yes.
Yeah. Mm.
There's so like there's still a point now where there's even when like animals and things like that come into your life, there's always a meaning behind an animal. And often when they come to visit, and if you look up what the meaning of that animal is at that point in time, it's often reflective of what is going on in your life. So there's meaning in a lot of things that we are completely missing, and we're looking for it from our external. And it's about like going internally. I think that that's where all our answers are. The answers for
Mhm.
every single question is on the inside if you stop and listen to that. So it's in that silence that you're able to find the answers. So if you just sit and reflect on what's been going on, the answers often come and rise, which comes from the knowing, and the intuition comes to the um, surface, because ultimately
Mm.
you really know what to do. You just got to give your self space to find that.
Yeah.
It's is that true to me or is it not true to me? Is it like it's sitting in that space of not doing, not saying, not seeing, just in knowing that you know what your truth is. It's about finding that truth within.
Such an
How many
important
times
message.
Yeah.
Mm.
How many times have we said yes when we want to say no? Our body is telling us no, 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 but we go ahead with the yes. So we need to listen to that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Beautiful. Such an important message. It really is a message of empowerment because when you recognize your own wisdom and listen to it, it is empowering. You become more in control of what you do. And yeah, have you got any examples of listening to your soul song and how it's changed your life?
so my probably biggest one was when I moved to Queensland, and I was moved within 4 weeks of it was something that came completely out of the blue, and I just went with it was just pulling me. And I had been to Queensland for 3 holidays, and then I had an opportunity where my job was national, but usually we were traveling WA, and we would travel across. And I had said I would like to be in Queensland. I had a daughter in Queensland at the time. And this was probably the first time I ever really, really followed that gut feeling inside that this is something that you had to do. So I went, and then I spoke to my team leader. We were at a work conference, and 4 days later, she came back to me and said, "If you want to go and live in Queensland, then you can move if you want to, and go and live and work over there." And it was like, oh my God, like here it is right now. So it was something that I had been asking for a whole time, but I said I needed a job when I went. That was what I put out to the universe. So it was all there. Um, and then I rang up about a house. Like I ended up with a granny flat, and the lady said to me, "I will speak to my husband over the weekend." And I said, "What will be, will be. I would really love to come and be there." It was sight unseen, but what will be, will be. And 2 hours later, she rang me back and said, "I have a feeling that it's right. So come."
Mm.
And so it's yours. So it just all flowed. So that was following that. And then that meant I left behind, I knew nobody. So I left behind everybody. And it was in like understanding what loneliness was to being alone. So that was my time to find out what being lonely was, and then embracing the alone. So I don't actually ever feel lonely anymore, because I know that I can reach out at any stage to feel that. So alone is being comfortable with yourself. So that's being comfortable with that song, with all of those things inside of you, that internal landscape, and being comfortable in that space. That
Mm.
that's where, so it's, we're so busy externalizing to the world. It's about being in that internal and listening to that. Came to the world like that. It's about remembering our way back home. So home
Mm.
is the soul, and it's about remembering to go back to that. So
Yeah. So many people are looking for validation externally, especially young people. It's probably part of the development, isn't it? Worry about what everyone else thinks all the time. Look for getting your needs met, your self-worth, your self-esteem's all dependent on what's outside. So this is a returning to what's on the inside, but not so you have to live alone, but just so you can be comfortable.
with you, because if you really think about it, you are, no matter what you have around you, the clothes you wear, all of those things you have, this is the vessel that turns up every day, that gets out of bed. This
Mm,
is what you've got to be happy with. And it's in finding that deep inner wisdom, and is what you need to present to the world. Like that's what you need to present. You're the person showing up for yourself every single day.
yeah.
And it's about starting to treat that person as it's the self-care in treating that person as that most important part. And that's listening. It's about listening to you and listening to what you want, instead
Mm,
of worrying about what every other person wants.
yeah. Ah, listening to your
That's
own
the big one.
song. Mm,
Yeah.
it's a big
And
one.
acknowledgement is a big one. Like being like spent so much time in that space of being wanting to be acknowledged and validated for everything that you do. But really the most important person that can acknowledge and validate you is you. You've got to acknowledge yourself first before you'll get that acknowledgement from others. And that all
Yeah.
ties back to the self-worth. Yeah.
Mm. So everyone needs to read your book. There's lots of beautiful journal prompts, so different exercises people can do to help them discover their soul song. So I know that journaling's one. What are some of the other ways you suggest people tune into their soul, their song, their unique sound,
Not
frequency?
everybody likes to write, so put it in there as journaling, but there's a lot of there's questions that you don't have to write anything. If you can take a question for the day to ask yourself and reflect on during the day, it doesn't have to be about writing. It's put in that place of the journaling, but sometimes it's about contemplating and thinking about something as you progress through your day and the things that you do through your day. Um, a lot is, and I don't necessarily say, I don't ever want to put it as meditation because I know a lot of people find it hard to meditate, but it's about sometimes just taking 5 or 10 minutes out to just go and sit, leave the phone behind, start. You only have to start small and just
Mm.
sit with yourself for 5 minutes just to have a breath, a lot of breath, like the deep breathing right down into your belly, and utilizing that is probably really important in like freeing that channel
Mm.
as well, to be able to when we breathe in we center in on ourselves. So it's little
Yeah.
things that you have to do. It doesn't have to be laborious. It's just a prompt to get you thinking about things.
Yeah, and the most simple things are often the most powerful. But I did want to ask you because you also talk about the chakras and
Mhm.
the Earth star and the connection to Earth. So for people that are new to that, how does that relate to finding your way back to your home, to your soul song?
So it's about like connection, the grounding to the earth is really important to clear
Mm.
that channel to go right through. So, but we spend a lot of time being out of our bodies. That's one
Mm.
of the biggest things that takes us away from ourselves too. Is often if you've experienced trauma, and any of those things, it's about taking yourself out of your body. So by bringing in and connecting into the earth and the earth star chakra, understanding that bringing that earth up and through so that it's a channel through and not just work, like it doesn't just stop here and here, it travels through and up. So we need to be just clearing that channel so that we can do that. But the earth
Yeah.
star is a really, really strong place to be connecting to the earth too, because the earth
Mm.
is what we need to ground. And I mean, with that comes so many things like nature. Just walking barefoot on the ground is probably one of the easiest and best things that you can do for yourself.
Oh, I
So,
love grounding. Just today, I've been out twice, just thrown off my Ugg boots because it's cold, and been on the cold grass and just really needed it. It's almost like it becomes, once you realize how good you feel after you ground, I can feel like for me the energy or the nervous energy building, and then once I ground and get some sun, it just dissipates. So,
yeah.
yeah, and there's so much science
But
behind it. It's, mm,
yeah. And we want to be, everyone, like, especially if you're working on a spiritual journey, you spend so much time in the top part of your body, like wanting to
mm,
connect out into the higher realms and higher, but it's the grounding, to be grounded in your body is what brings it through. So
yeah.
it's connecting to that earth and holding a space that brings all of that energy through so much more clearer. Because if you go out, like I can go and look at the stars and go, I want to be home, like when you look at the stars, but in actual fact, you're home when you're grounded in your body and like being in that space. So it's really important that we worry, you know, we look at what the lower chakra is doing, especially that connection to the earth.
Yeah,
So,
and it's how you say I want to go home. So a lot of
yeah,
people are saying that to me recently. A lot of what
yeah.
we would call people that relate or connect to having had a past life or coming from the stars. I just want to go home. You see lots of little reels about people trying to attract the attention of outer world beings to come and get them. So, what's your relationship with the stars? Because you wrote about that as well.
So that was to do with I started following the Seven Sisters, which was the constellations and that. And I mean that story is not only in Dreamtime or out here, it's like that story is talked about in so much. Um, so I do have a connection in that space and through the Pleiades into, and I'm sure that somewhere along the line it's come down from, like, whether it's past life, whatever. There is a really, really strong connection, and I think we all are in some way. Um, but it's putting it into perspective too, like holding, like taking on the parts of that that are really important to you and just connect
Mm,
it. It's becoming
yeah.
multidimensional.
Yeah, so
All
staying
things,
grounded, but
yeah.
also being connected and aware that we are greater than this physical body. And you also talked about the different dimensions. Do you want to talk a little bit about that? Like, the third dimension and fourth dimension.
So with the way that things have been, we've been so much um in the third dimension, which is in connected to the things in life, the material things, just doing things in that space. And it's been brought through the generations of being in that. So there's been a lot of talk about moving through the dimensions. Like now we've got like fourth dimension, and then we're aspiring to fifth dimension. But I think in all of those things, when we talk about moving up through the dimensions, we keep on, like I always thought, when am I going to get there? When am I going to get to the fifth dimension and be in that space of fifth dimension? But it's a process of finding your way back to yourself. It's about coming back to self to really understand how you impact the world around you and how you work and um like love in all of that aspect of it. It's about arising from within rather than looking to get on a ladder and make it to the fifth dimension. The fifth dimension is when you start to shed all of those, like all of the beliefs and that we've had ingrained in us, and start to see things from a different perspective. So it's about not react, like the triggers that come in and how you work with those at different times, like what's triggered me so much before, like now, and reaction, um, like now it starts to flow through you rather than being triggered by it, or you can see it consciously. It's about being conscious of yourself and how you show up in the world. And it's not somewhere to get to.
Right, that's
It's
right. I
about,
used to think I used to see it like layers around the earth. Like, oh, we go through the different layers, but it's levels of my understanding, it's levels of consciousness and awareness. And
yeah,
third dimension is being stuck really in 3D, what we can see with our senses, our five senses, feel and hear. It's that real denial that there's anything beyond. And then when
yeah.
you get to the fifth dimension, it's more anchored in the heart and being aware of our multi-dimensional being. Is that how you would see it?
And it's embodying. So you embody it rather
Mm.
than like live in it and be bogged down by it. You start to embody all of the things around you, like the truth, the love. You can see it on a wider scale than you
Yeah.
can like in a narrow vision. 3D is very narrow. There's lots of fear. There's lots of, it's working through all of those layers of fear, the belief systems that we've been given, the pain, all of that, and still working to, like, you'll still come to that and you still deal, but it's a way of dealing with things on another level.
Yeah.
It, yeah, it's not
Yeah.
about, yeah, it's just dealing with it so much more differently.
Yeah, from an expanded point of view, I like how you said 3D is very narrow and you get and it's very heavy. You said the word bogged
Yeah,
down. Yeah, narrow and
yeah,
heavy. It's a lot of fear. And then when you expand, it becomes lighter and more loving and more, just vast. It's hard to put into words, isn't it? Yeah.
yeah.
Mm.
It is hard to put into words. And it is like, it still doesn't mean that the things don't arise, like the fear doesn't arise and those things, but it's being conscious of that as a fear and then addressing it from that space as well, rather than
Yeah.
saying, what's the worst that could happen? What's the worst outcome that could happen now? Whereas before, you just automatically react, you go into it, you just like be it, and you stop
Mm.
yourself from doing things because of it. Whereas when you start to embody it and see it for what it is, you actually move through it a lot more quicker.
Yeah.
So,
And I like to say, what's the best outcome? You know,
yeah,
what's the best that could happen? Because we always say, what's the worst? Well, what's the best? Yeah.
yeah,
So it's definitely empowering once you realize you are more than this single life here right now
yeah,
without getting psychotic and forgetting that you do have to pay attention to your life here, but it is so empowering to know that there is so much more. And yeah, tell me about the whales because I loved that chapter about the whales and their song, and that relates
so,
to their and connection and vastness. Mm.
yeah. So the whales came through with sitting in circle with an elder who holds the whale dreaming songline across Australia, and then feeling really quite connected in that space to the whales. And I had an altar that I had a whale, a dolphin, and a turtle on that I had on my altar for so long. And then when I moved to Queensland, where I moved to, in Harvey Bay, I went out on a whale tour because they're known for their whale tours. And on that day, I had a whale, um, a dolphin, and a turtle all
Oh,
appear on the same day. So it made me aware that I was at the right place in the right time. But the
mm,
whales, their sound, how, they sing the song constantly,
mm,
and it's a connection. Their contact is through song. So, and they travel their song lines all the time. Like when they do their migrations, it's their same way up, their same way back, the way that they do. So it's like this interconnectedness with that space. It's that vibration of sound that puts them onto their path, and it's about following that. And that's how the connection, if we listen to our songs inside us, of what that song is inside us, it's a vibration the same as what the whales do. So
yeah,
it's
it's fascinating.
yeah,
Mm. Apparently, we
yeah,
can only hear like 1% or something of the sound spectrum, and there's so much outside it. So, whales and dolphins, they can send the vibrational frequency for so far, and we can't even hear it. And so, that are they literally mapping which way to go with the vibration and
yeah.
frequency?
that's what I was going to say, was that's often when they like when they beach themselves and things like that, they come off of that, like the frequency of the way that they move through the water, because water carries the sound as well. So they're in an environment. Our bodies are made up of, I think, 70% plus of water. So it's all connected in that, like the ability to move that sound through, and that's how they follow their pathway. And if they're sent off, often the beaching of whales is that sonar sound frequency is off in some way, shape, or form.
It's
So
incredible. Yeah.
yeah,
Once I had a past life regression where I was a giant communicating with the whales, which I always
yeah,
thought that's weird. And I was also like, I was singing to the whales and I could understand them, and I was also communicating with the stars. And at the time, I thought, how odd, but it feels like it's all connected. Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
we did once communicate and sing the same song as the whales.
yeah.
Mm,
It is all yeah. Well, it's all connected. That's what we're stepping into. When we step into it, we're stepping into the oneness. When we strip away all of those things that, all of that outer noise, all of that doing, you step into the oneness of what's inside,
yeah.
internalize, and then that links out into like nature and all of those sorts of things, sitting with the stars. It's all about the oneness and being
Mm,
connected. So
yeah. So your book takes people on quite a journey. You can start just in silence and end up communicating
it
with the stars, everything in between.
it's just like I guess it's a book to there's so many things that are connected that we don't see. And it's really funny. All of when I started to write it, it was like it was actually started as the Feminine Chronicles, which was really interesting because I was writing the feminine story. I wasn't going to do the masculine. And then the masculine came into it because of all of the interconnectedness. But I had so much information about the song lines and about the connecting with the whales and things like that, that I just kept on, there was just more and more stuff kept on coming up. And then I just, yeah, it just all married into one another. Like it just all seemed to be. And then they asked me to separate it to do two books. And when I did that, I was just like, no, I can't do two books. It has to be one because it just lost itself in that.
Oh, it flows. It really does. It's like one layer builds on the next and the next. It's like the soul songs expanding and rippling and connecting so many things. Yeah. No,
Yeah.
it's highly recommend people read it. Go on that journey with you. Yeah. I was going to ask
Yeah.
you, Sherry, what's your background? What do you do when you're not writing a book? What do you love to do?
So what do I do? So I have done lots of different things. Um, energy, I don't like to call myself an energy healer. I actually prefer energy realignment because we all heal ourselves ultimately. I'm just the conduit for that and the space for that to happen in. So I've done lots of different things in that. I like art has been my medicine, so that's why I really talk about art in the book, because when I was talking to Mel earlier, when like I start to I can paint things that come out from inside that you never ever can voice. So that's I've been given a lot of gifts in that sense of, but of all of things that people have told me that I'm not good at. So when like the sound and the toning and the voice that comes through now, and I was never really great at art was as far as I could see, but it's been just developing as time goes on, and it's just morphed into something that is completely different to where I started. And my daughter is one of the ones that I always laugh because she's just natural at her artwork. And she used to say, stop trying to make it perfect and just allow it to be. And since I've stopped trying to make it perfect, it becomes so much easier. So I'm quite happy to paint like now. I wanted it all perfect in the beginning, but now I can happily paint over something and restart again. So it's in that
That's
space.
the beauty,
But
isn't it? Perfectly perfect. Yeah.
perfectly imperfect is, yeah. So happy to be that. So yeah.
Mm.
So I do that, but I work in disability. So that's been um my journey for the last few years. And then before that I was a bank manager. So I've had lots of different jobs that don't really align with what you know, and
Mm.
at the beginning it was actually quite separate. So
Yeah.
my spiritual life was very separate to my work life. And now, because I didn't want people to see me as that flaky person that's to the side, but now I embody so much of my spiritual life into my work. So
Yeah.
just in the support of people.
You're out of
Yeah,
the spiritual closet. You're
yeah,
flying your woo woo flag with lots of flair.
yeah,
Yeah, because it's hard to, that would be not listening to your soul song and hiding it. Like you can't do
yeah,
that when it's part of you, can you?
yeah. So yeah, so that's and it's about walking side by side with people too, that we're not any better than the next person next to us, or we're not any lower than that person. It's about learning to walk side by side with people. Um,
Yeah,
and it comes with a level of respect for someone that's in a higher position to you, but they're still exactly the same as you
yeah.
are. It's
Strip it
just
all away,
about
their souls. Yeah.
yeah, and
Mm,
come back to that space where all still exactly the same inside, trying to find the dream. So it's about walking side by side and never being
yeah,
lower or never being higher than anyone else. It's just been a constant. So,
yeah.
and
Yes.
that works. Yeah,
Yeah. And probably there's so many people that can relate that think their spirituality is something separate, and they're wanting to, be more authentic and bring it into their everyday life. So I think Soul Song's a good book to start with that. And yeah, 2025 is a year to just embrace it
yeah,
and share
and, and embody it. So that's the
it.
whole thing. So
Yeah,
we're embodying everything. So, and then that's the consciousness of that fifth dimension heading into that. When we're embodying ourselves, like everything in our life, and not separate and living in separation
yeah.
and duality, where we're embodying it as one thing. We don't have to hide anymore,
Like,
and we can be our authentic selves.
yes.
Yeah,
Yay.
yeah,
It feels so good to be your authentic self. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. So if people want to contact you or work with you or read your book, where's the best place to connect?
So I have a Facebook page under my name, or also, and there's a website on there as well. Can email me. So,
Mhm.
but the Facebook page is, you're able to contact me through there. So,
Okay, so that Sherrie Meyer is a Facebook page.
yeah. So you probably get both, because now it's hard to separate the two, the Sherrie Meyer private and the Sherrie Meyer from the author's thing, but it's all interconnected.
I'll
So
put the link. People can
yeah,
search up SoulSong as well and order it. You
Yeah.
can order it online from the publisher or the hard
So
copy.
yeah. So I've got the link to my website now. So that came yesterday, so that you can order through there or you can order it through Balboa. But it is out there for there's lots of places now that are looking at it, and I'm looking at putting it into audiobook because I've had lots of people ask me about the audiobook. So yeah, someone said I don't have time, and this is what it is too about taking. I don't have time to read a book. You know what it's like. The day goes by, and once upon a time we used to make time to read a book, and I understand that, but a lot of people want audiobooks. So someone I've had a couple of requests now, so I need to look at doing that. So that'll be out soon too.
They choose the audiobook so you can cook and listen at the same time or drive or walk to
Yeah.
work. I do that. It's
So,
great.
yeah. Yeah.
Mm,
So it's about carrying your truth, your
yes.
wisdom, and all your gifts. The gifts are all there, but we forget that we don't even see them. So
Owning
yeah,
your own unique truth and
yeah,
allowing it to express itself. Yep.
yeah.
Mm,
And it's not always perfect. It's often messy. And I talk
yes. I
about
like,
that all the time. It's messy.
yeah, that's right. Every chapter is like, and it doesn't matter if it's messy or your
Yeah,
voice is shaky
yeah,
or it's not perfect, which is great because it gives us all permission at whatever stage of awareness we're at, or however confident or not confident we're feeling, we can begin. We don't need
yeah.
to have it all.
No.
Who does
And we
anyway?
need to, yeah, and we need to uplift each other. So it's about uplifting the women, those around us that don't have that voice too. And there's a lot in, I know the feminine connects so much in the sisterhood. So it's about finding spaces where you can help to bolster others
Yeah.
when you find that voice. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
Lots of practical tips about how we can support men and women in our lives to get in touch with their soul song and to, throw off some of the societal norms that keep us suppressing emotion and acting tough. And so I love that. It's a real invitation to be more honest, open, vulnerable. And that's what's going to get us to the next level. Fifth
yeah,
dimension. Yeah.
yeah. And we're also clearing so much of the generational timelines too. So the generational past and what's come through in those lines. I know that that's been a lot of my journey, and I have my three children working with me on that too, so that we're not repeating some of the things that the buck stops now. Like
Yes.
it's
Yeah.
not
Breaking the
going
pattern.
any further. Yeah. And
Yeah.
it talks a lot about that as well. Yeah.
Yeah. That's powerful. It stops now. Our children won't be repeating the same patterns. Mm.
No. So yeah.
Oh, and into war, world peace. We've got it all figured out. People just need to listen to their soul song. No, it's so
Yeah.
true. Really, it's powerful, powerful stuff. So thank you so much. And we just
No,
touched on a few things in the book. There's so much more. Mm,
yeah.
yeah.
Thank
Now,
you.
pardon?
I said thank you.
You're welcome. There's a little bit of a delay because Tassie's so far from WA. It's taking a while to
Come
to get
through.
through.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. So I always ask people, but it's not, you don't have to. But if you want to express any sound, any song, any owl sound, or just any parting words, it's up to you. You can be an
Yes.
owl, or you can you can express any wisdom.
I'm not going to do a sound right now because I didn't prepare myself for that, although it'll probably
That's
come out if it needs to. But
just yeah.
I just felt that the the world will change through tiny moments, and this means listening, honoring, loving, not fixing, but seeing people as they are and being present.
Mm,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah,
honoring, being present.
yeah.
Mm, mm, thank you.
Thank you.
Ah, yes. I think we could talk
Thank you.
again. I'll have you back. But all the best.
Okay.
Congratulations on your book, and may it go out far and wide. May your song travel across the whole world and awaken other
Thank you.
people's souls. Mm.
Thanks, Mel.